Good afternoon, Carl. How are you?
Good afternoon, Moose. Hey, Maggie.
It's been a
Carl.
long 3 weeks here for the Giants, and
Ugh.
give kind of I guess I'll give you the floor. Like, where do you want to start? The Giant fan is frustrated. Marigan booted halftime. They're 0-3. A lot of it looks the same. The Garrett offense, the penalties, the unforced errors. When you look at the self-inflicted wounds for the Giants, where do you want to begin with a team that right now couldn't even get their fans to October and being relevant?
Well, I don't know if they are completely irrelevant because it's a 17-game season, but they are trending in the wrong direction. It's very frustrating for me to watch some of the things that happen because it's as we were talking offline, it's a tale of two teams. It's a team that the majority of the time can't do enough right to get out of its own way. And then you'll see a flawless 71-yard drive that says, oh, well, maybe they can do this, right? And it's just, I just think it's a mentality. And when I talked about this in the post game. They have plenty of leaders. Leadership is not an issue, but they don't have alpha personalities. And when I say alpha personalities, I'll give you one case. You go on a 71-yard drive. Your quarterback runs over Grady Jarrett for a 2-point conversion. Your defense takes the field as if, okay, let's just go out and bend but don't break, right? You got to go, when you see the offense do what they just did, you got to go out there and play angry, finish this game, get the ball back to the offense. That is what I think is missing from this team. They're great character kids, and there's nothing, I have nothing negative to say about their leaders or the character, but I need angry football every once in a while. It's not a knock on your character to play angry. It's not a knock on your character to have a killer instinct when your offense just did something that they were not able to do for the most part of the game, right? Being able to finish when you are in the red zone 3 times and 2 of those are field goals, and then you end up losing by a field goal. You bend but don't break, then you drop an interception in the end zone that ends the game for you. These are things that you've got to be in the moment. You've got to always be in the moment, every situation, knowing, look, you just let a team drive 70 yards down the field on you, right? And you get one more opportunity to get off the field and you drop it, it results in a field goal, end of game. It's a culmination of just things that are frustrating. They have a lot of runway left, and it's going to be up to them to decide what they're going to be. I think the verdict is in as far as the fans are concerned, but with 14 games left on the schedule, can this team be a double-digit win team? I can't make the case. It's there for them if they want it. They've proven on rare occasions that they can do things the right way. But when if you're in the red zone, right, and you give up a clean sack, you sack yourself out of one opportunity for a touchdown because you're at the 8-yard line, and all of a sudden you're going backwards. You get down there again, the quarterback misses the snap, and I call that a self-sack because now he's got to fall on the ball. They end up kicking a field goal on that. So of all the good things that they can do, they just don't do. And I think it's a lack of focus when you really think about it, because the penalties, linemen down the field, you got to know when these plays are called, they don't call them to fail. They call them to succeed. And when you have success on one end of it, and then you have procedural penalties, the lack of discipline type of plays, it kills you. And it's demoralizing for the fans because all they want right now as Giant fans is hope, right? And when you do these types of things, you end up looking like the bad news bears because so many things go right. And then one guy makes a mistake. You can't be that guy, and that's the part, that is so mind-boggling to me. And I'm sure the fans are, obviously they've expressed their displeasure with this team. And then,
wait, Carl, can I stop you there for a second, though, just to follow up on something you're saying? So you're talking about no alphas, and I heard you on the broadcast yesterday talking about that in the postgame about, no, it's not leadership, it's alpha, which is different. Does that extend to the coaching staff? Like, where are they in this, in this math equation, and why, like, that never seems to make sense or never seems to, even out?
No, I think I think there are a lot of alphas on this coaching staff. You hear a lot of screaming, a lot of MF bombs going off in practice, especially some of the interior coaches, the line coaches on both sides. I mean, they get after it pretty good. But the thing is, you can't want it. Even if you're a coach, you can't want it for those who don't want it for themselves. You can scream until you're blue in the face. But until that match is lit and those guys get fire under their butts and go out and play like their hair is on fire every single down, like it's important, like if it's to be, it's up to me mentality, it's going to be the same thing because it just, and I'm not going to say it's unimportant to them, but this is professional football.
Right.
And sometimes it's just not okay. The pat on the back, okay, we'll get it next time. Well, next time came and you didn't get it, it was somebody else, right? That is what I consider the lack of alpha personality, right? That alpha personality is saying, I'm accountable to the guy next to me. We got a play call. We got to make this play. If you've got 4 opportunities for turnovers and you get 1 and you had an opportunity for 3, that's not okay.
No.
Now I get it. When Logan Ryan says, look, I'm a shooter, I'm gonna keep trying. But at some point, in order to get this thing going in the right direction, you gotta take advantage of your opportunities, right? You gotta be able to make a shot. Shooters shoot. They shoot until they make it. You don't tell them to stop shooting, but eventually you gotta make a shot. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no,
that's what it really comes down to.
Well, but Carl, totally, so it's on the players, but when does it change? So, I mean, then is it a coaching staff problem? Is it a message not getting through? Is it a game plan problem when you look at Garrett, when you look at Patrick Graham, some of the defensive schemes that we've seen here past couple weeks? Is it a Joe Judge problem? If it's not a talent problem, then it's a coaching staff problem, no?
It's a collective problem. And I hope we can go a little long here because there are a lot of things that, when we talk about coaching, from week 1 to week 3, we thought, well, Jason Garrett is vanilla in his play calling, right? So he comes back against Washington. They go with more gap scheme, trap type of runs, and they were there. And then some of the plays that didn't work were not coaching error. It's a drop ball in the end zone. Right? Mm-hmm. It's a running back who misreads his blocks and doesn't end the game for them. But they are making some calls correctly. But it's hard because if it's not one thing, it's another. And, in terms of player execution, right? It's for me, and I say this with a great deal of respect for Saquon Barkley. I'm a fan and I know he's capable, right? So this is by no means trashing him, but this is the hard conversation that they got to have with him. It's time now to expect more. And when I say that, it's because he's proven that he's not a tentative runner in terms of his knee. He's doing pirouettes, he's doing cuts, he's doing stutter steps. So there's no apprehension that I see in Saquon Barkley. Mentality, he's aggressive. But Coach Burton, who's coached some of the greatest running backs that currently play in this league, from Alabama, right?
Yep.
It's time for them now to have that blunt conversation with Saquon and say, you got to stick your cleats in the ground and get north and south. When you got a convoy of blockers in front of you on a power sweep, get in the pocket of one of those blockers and ride it out. Do not be impatient and think you've got to break away from that. When you break away from the convoy, there's a collision. Mm-hmm. And so it's time now, because he's capable, it's time now for them to have that blunt conversation. I think he's proven that his knee is not an issue. His mentality, he's not afraid to do things on that knee. He's doing a lot of stuff. But the one thing that he's got to understand right now, as a powerful, quick, fast runner who can do a lot of different things, he's taking pressure off of the defense with his running style right now. Because, look, I'm 6'4", and I played at 250 pounds. I did not want to see a guy like Saquon Barkley coming downhill at me. Now, I'm going to take the collision, right? But you want those linebackers to say, oh, crap, this is going to be a collision. You want that pressure on a defense. He's not doing that. He's making it easy for the defenders, because by dancing around, they just go wrap him up.
Yep.
You get in the hole, you put your cleats in the ground, run through a few arm tackles, and believe me, there ain't a lot of players in the NFL defensively that want that smoke when that guy's running downhill. I can tell you. Yeah. So it's time to have that conversation with him. It's time to put on the film and say, look, here's three guys. They all are latched on to blocks. The rules work in your favor because the defensive backs can no longer cut the linemen when they're out in space. So they just got to get locked on, get in their back pocket, don't lose 3 yards, gain 10, right? If there's a hole, be patient enough to hit it and get north and south. They're not going to all be wide open, or you're not going to make a ton of people miss, because they've been coached now just to hold your spot, and he's just going to dance around, and then you'll just wrap him up. Well, if they're going to hold their spot and you got a hat on a hat, put your cleats in the ground, get north and south, and you'll see you'll have more defenders unwilling to tackle you than those willing to go take that collision.
Yeah, as a friend of mine used to say, make them make a business decision. Carl Banks is joining us right now, as he does every Monday. We're talking about the Giants' latest loss to the Atlanta Falcons. You know, Carl, so you're talking about Saquon Barkley and getting him in the film room and having a blunt conversation with him. That's kind of like taking accountability for your weaknesses. You're talking about some of these mistakes that the Giants have had through 3 weeks. And to be honest, like, some of it's guys who are down on the depth chart and filling in, but some of them are the highest paid guys, some of the highest profile guys. Talking about Saquon, you mentioned Logan Ryan. We're talking about Adoree Jackson, missing that interception in the end zone. You're talking about, unfortunately, Blake Martinez now going to be out for the season, which is awful with the ACL. Mm-hmm. And we wish him nothing but the best in his recovery. He had missed some tackles in the first 2 games, though, not to pile on a guy who's injured. How do you do that, Carl, when it's your highest paid in some cases and some of the real faces of the team who are ones who are not coming through in clutch situations?
It's easy. You have to have these conversations. And it doesn't matter if you are a backup or a starter who's high paid. Once you're on the field, the expectations don't change, right? So if you got your top free agent who's not making a game-closing play, you got to let him know. You got to make this play. It's just that simple. And you've got to have a mindset that, okay, these guys have driven the ball all the way down the field on us. They've gone 70-something yards, and we got one more opportunity to get off the field to close this game out. They give it to you, and you drop it. Mm-hmm. That kind of typifies what this team is about when I talk about alpha personalities.
Right.
Because when you are a team, and it's not a knock, but you got to be very good at everything you do. If you don't have that alpha mentality and you want to bend but don't break, then when a team makes a mistake, you better be able to take advantage of it. You know, and that's what it comes down to. But you know, it's also a function of coaching, and like I said, it's a collective right now, because when you look at this defense for the last 2 weeks, there have been plays where you can say this is the series that cost them the game.
Yep.
Washington, 2 plays, 75 yards, touchdown, right? The last drive.
Oh, they went 55 yards in 3 plays.
Yeah, a non-big play offense.
28-yarder and a 25-yarder.
Yep.
Right? So defensively, sometimes it's not about having the right call. It's about having the best call based on the situation. And let me explain that. So in the Washington game, they had the right call, but it puts pressure on individuals, right? The best call for the situation might be to play a little prevent defense. Everybody hates prevent, right? But if a team is backed up and the clock is in your favor, play a little prevent defense, because now you've got 11 guys with the ball in front of them instead of a man-to-man defense where it's reliant upon that player's execution. It's the right call for the play. You got everybody matched up, right? But the execution of that particular player in that situation determines the success or failure of a play. And if you've got if you got 75, a team is on the 25-yard line and they got to drive down in a minute and 30 seconds or a minute and 50 seconds, well, heck, if you make them run 4 or 5 plays, then the clock's working against them. Instead of giving up 20 or 25 or 28, you're giving up 10, maybe 12. The clock is running. They got to use timeouts. That is where you've got, as a coach, to say, okay, what is the situation? I can have the right call or I can have the best call. The best call in those types of situations is sometimes a prevent defense, especially when they're backed up and the clock is not in their favor. The one thing that a team needs, if you got a minute and 30, they need a big play somewhere. They need a chunk play. You want to be able to deny that chunk play by design.
Yeah.
You want to just deter it.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and it's good to have Cordarrelle Patterson being able to be one of those guys. Talk about a guy you don't want to tackle in the open field. He carries a punch, and Arthur Smith using him in a lot of different ways that we've seen over the course of his career. You know, Carl, last one, we have a couple minutes here, and that would be Judge. Still have confidence that he's the right guy to find and turn everything around and get back to the Giants being the Giants?
I do. I think it's too early to make that assessment in a third game of his second year. I think it's too early. But I think these players are going to determine whether or not this coach has the right message for them, which I think he does. But a coach is as only good as his players. Sure. I think he has the right message. I think he has the players' attention. Again, there are 14 more of these to go. If they can get it trending in the right direction, good. But they're open to all the criticism right now because they're just not executing. And all the things that he emphasizes and he talks about and he preaches to this team, it's not translating on the field. And, it's not a lot you can do as a coach in terms of, I don't want to call it punishment, but drilling this stuff during the course of the week because you just can't do a lot anymore in practice. So I think he's the right coach. I believe that the things he's teaching will take hold. It's early. They can change the trend for themselves. by executing. And I think they've proven to themselves that there are some things that they can do when they don't do stupid things to beat themselves. And it's, again, it's learning how not to lose more so than it is learning how to win.
Yeah, but when Kyrie Irving says, once we start believing in each other and believing in the scheme, then we'll start to get right. Saquon says that. I'm like, I wonder why they don't believe in the scheme. Carl, we could talk to you all day. Unfortunately, we got to go. Thank you so much. We'll talk to you next week after what should be a very passionate, raucous crowd the Giants are going to be facing in the Superdome in New Orleans. Thank you.
It's up to them, folks. It's up to them. It's not even about the opponent. They're their biggest opponent right now.
Amen.
Carl, great stuff as always. Have yourself a great week. Looking forward to listening to you and Bob next Sunday as the Giants are on the road taking on the New Orleans Saints.